conversation with her because it's a very important topic. And here's the thing: school ended yesterday. It's the first day of school holidays, and the timing of this thing is for me very, very odd because a lot of parents are going to go into school holidays next year, grade four. So those who are in grade four, all of a sudden you are bombarded with just the type of curriculum that you may not have thought about. And some people say, oh, it doesn't affect me. Guess what? Sooner rather than later, in that school system, it's going to affect you. And so we have Lauren in here, and she wanted to do something about this, but she's going to tell the background of how this group, hashtag Leave Our Kids Alone, came about. The shock, horror, when she found out 4 kids, and she's realizing she had to do something about it. The power of one. Let's quickly talk about that, Lauren. How did this group come about? Hashtag Leave Our Kids Alone.
Well, I read the press release that came out that, I think it came out probably a month and a half ago, and I was very unhappy that, firstly, that they're going to be introducing scripted lesson plans that are sexual in nature at junior school level, and then secondly, that CSE, according to the Department of Education, has been in the curriculum since the 2000s, as a spokesperson and the minister has said numerous occasions. And having young children, and also coming from a not so stable home myself, I want to protect my children. I want them to grow up with righteous principles. I want them to stand a chance in life and meet a partner that they'll spend the rest of their lives with. I want them to be healthy emotionally, and I want to protect them. When we send our kids to school, I'm sending my children basically to learn maths and languages and science.
Yeah, the stuff that you can't teach them. You actually want them to go have an education.
Yes.
And then they get bombarded now with a type of material that is it's shocking. It will make adults blush if you think about it. Then we have kids that's not emotionally adapt to be able to cope with those mechanisms. I don't even think it's... Listen, let's start at the beginning. Where is this curriculum coming from?
It's coming from the United Nations, specifically UNESCO. And UNESCO has rolled this out across the world in Western first world countries like Canada and Australia, but then also a lot of African countries. And the degree and severity to which that they roll this out differs. So right now, in grade 4, they're introducing the CSE, but as young as kindergarten in America, they're learning all kinds of crazy things. So it is a UN thing. And the government has received money from US aid to implement the new scripted lesson plans. And I think one thing we need to make clear here is that the department keeps saying that there's no new curriculum, there's nothing to worry about. So there's 2 facts you need to be aware of. The CSE has been in the curriculum since the 2000s. That's the one truth you need to be aware of. And teachers have taught it to varying degrees. Some teachers have not taught it at all. So you get different textbooks, schools purchase, they have a choice which textbooks to purchase. And a lot of them don't have any of that content in, some of them do. So it differs from school to school. So it's been in the curriculum since the 2000s, but it might not have directly affected you or your kid. And the other thing is with CSE is that they wanted to strengthen the program. And that's where this new scripted lesson plans came in. So Elijah, the spokesperson, he's correct when he says the curriculum hasn't changed. I, as a mother, I was not aware that there was sex ed at junior school level. I thought it was an obstacle I'm going to have to face in high school. And I was shocked. I was shocked to know that they're teaching this at junior school level. Even in my son's grade 4 book, during the HIV lesson, they mentioned condoms and unsafe sex. Now, these are concepts that are foreign to my children. And then with CSE, it's called Comprehensive Sexuality Education. So again, what the department keeps on saying is that CSE is not sex ed. And to a degree that's right, because the sex ed you and I probably had in high school involved strictly STIs, HIV, and the risks associated with promiscuous behavior. CSE is empowering kids' sexuality. That's what it's doing. And UN is quite open about the fact, and UNESCO, sorry, that the focus is on sexual rights more than it is on sexual health. So what this curriculum does, it doesn't teach kids how to have sex like some people have been saying, but it introduces them to sexual concepts that would be completely foreign to them.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even be aware. I don't think it's right that in grade 5 they have to, basically one example in grade 5, which my son has to learn next year, but if his school actually adopted this, he would have to learn about a graphic story about, I think, a group of 3 boys that corner another boy and then sexually assault him.
Yeah.
And throughout these SLPs, there are these case studies, and there's case studies describing attempted rape. So it'll actually describe the story, almost like you're in a drama class.
Yeah.
What the SLPs does not do, it does not describe what a pedophile is. It does not describe what molestation is. It does not describe what statutory rape is. It doesn't tell the child these are the processes you follow if you are abused or raped.
Yeah.
It doesn't do that.
So how do they plan to roll it out? So obviously there's textbooks involved, but now that's the theory of it all. But the practicality is it has to be taught according to them. How do they teach that and to these kids in the classroom? How do they roll that out?
Well, this is what is new, and this is what was funded by USAID. You have, and it's all on our Facebook group, Leave Our Kids Alone, so you can find it there. You got the educator's guide, and then you got the learner's book. So the learners will actually sit with this book, and the guide is there to help the teachers go through every single section. And I spoke to a teacher. So one thing you need to know is that next year this is only going to be rolled out in 1,500 schools. In South Africa, we have 24,000 public schools, just a bit more than that. So it's only going to be rolled out in 1,500 schools next year. In 2021, it is set to be rolled out in all the public schools.
Sure.
So I spoke to a teacher at a school where this is happening in Gauteng, and I'd prefer not to mention her name, but the teacher said she went to the training. And what she told me is that teachers are basically forced to follow the guide from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be able to pick and choose. On top of that, the department's actually, according to her and according to the training she got, going to be sending inspectors to make sure that this is taught properly.
Sure.
So what is happening is that the government has completely taken parental rights away. They have completely ignored the fact that we have freedom of religion, freedom of association, freedom of beliefs. And the excuse that they are using is high teenage pregnancies and high HIV. Now, often they will recite statistics where 13, 14-year-olds are getting pregnant.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if a 13 and 14-year-old is getting pregnant, that means someone raped them. Because it's statutory rape.
Yeah.
You cannot consent under the age of 16. And in poor communities, we have the issue of blessers. And that's another excuse for the CSE, that older men are taking advantage of the fact that younger girls want things, need things, and having sexual relations with them. And that is causing teenage pregnancies. But now what is the government's job? The government's job is to maintain law and order in society. The government's job is to make sure our country is such that we have the freedom to live without adversely affecting another human being.
Yeah.
So why are we not focusing on our justice system? Why are we not improving SAPs? Why are we not making sure that every single school has 1 or 2 social workers to deal with troubled children that are facing abuse at home or in the community?
The resources there instead of rolling it out across the board in terms of...
And, with the work that I do, my day job, I'm in communities a lot, and a lot of impoverished communities a lot, and I've done so across Cape Town. And one thing that keeps on coming up is that youth are begging for facilities to do something.
Yeah.
They want sports fields, they want community centers, they want hobbies, and spatial planning is a complete mess.
Yeah.
And the government is just not providing those kinds of communities where children can actually preoccupy their time with good activities that will instill discipline, that will instill excellence, that will keep them busy, keep them off the streets. It's just not happening. So the government is not listening to the people. They've received money from an overseas agency, and now they're rolling this out using the excuse that it's going to bring down pregnancy and HIV rates.
What is our recourse? And with the likes of a Facebook group like hashtag Leave Our Kids Alone, trying to put pressure on the government in terms of the awareness now to parents to say, listen guys, this is going to be taught to your child. What do we do about it? I know there's some schools that came out publicly say that we won't participate. So where do we stand? Because there's a lot of people with a lot of divergent thoughts on what must happen, what should happen, but what is the legal recourse, especially next year? So your child is in grade 4 next year.
Grade 5. Well, I have a grade 4. So one's going to grade 4, one's going to grade 5.
Yeah, so in general, I'm talking about in general, your child goes to grade 4, start being taught from there, and you're not aware of it, and all of a sudden your child comes home with this book, and mom, dad, look at this, and now you're shocked. But it's being rolled out to certain schools. What do you do? Do you say to that school, listen, I won't let my child be taught that, or don't you have rights in that regard? So these are all the types of questions that should be asked. And like I said, the timing of the announcement of how this thing is going to be rolled out, what is, and I'm asking you quite a few questions as well, in terms of our recourse, in terms of participation as well. In the process.
I'm not sure if you read recently what Angie Masheka said yesterday in the parliamentary committee. She said that if parents don't want their children to learn this, the parents must come to the school during that lesson.
I saw that.
Take their children out of class and watch them. Do we live in a democracy or not? That's what I keep asking. I mean, the one thing I said yesterday is that in a dictatorship, the people are subjects. In a democracy, people are citizens. We are being treated like subjects.
How do you make up an announcement like that if you don't like what your child is being taught? Come fetch your child. And that doesn't.
You know, the one thing that keeps completely blowing my mind is whenever our members on the group interact with the department, like some will send emails, some will try phone, the unbelievable arrogance that's emanating from the department, and they're completely just bulldozing over parents. And they say that there are more for CSE than against. I do not believe that's true. And that is why you say, what is the recourse? The minister has signed it off. They've received funding to roll it out. They've declared more than once that is going ahead with no objection. We can't object to it. They claim that they did a roadshow, but every single parent that I speak to did not know about this until I started the group.
I'm in the media.
And you didn't know about it.
Wow.
Anyways. So the only recourse is mass unified civil action. And I'm not sure what action that will be yet. Some people say they're going to withdraw their children from school, and I do not advise that. Another issue you have is that you've got teachers that are dead against this. They do not want to teach.
But they're also under pressure to teach it, though.
They get paid by the Department of Education. And then on the other hand, you do have teachers that agree with it. So they might not let you know that their children are getting taught this.
What do you tell your child as a parent?
You know, that's the tough part. I think this whole exposure has made us have to reevaluate how we teach our children.
Even if it wasn't for CSE in general, we need to reevaluate. We need to have a thought process in terms of where our values lie and what our kids are being taught, even if it wasn't CSE. It could have been something else that's controversial. And do we take enough care as parents to look into what is being taught to our children? And thank God, in a way, that the CSE thing is coming up. It makes us a lot more aware of what's happening in our school system. But this school year is at an end, and so we're going to have a break, and we're going to forget about a lot of things. And then come January, we're into the school year, and things have, like I said, it's been rolled out, it's been approved, they're going to do it. But we get to the school, and my child's going to grade 5 next year, right? I've already said I'm not going to allow it, but I'm talking about our rights. What do I do? I work in Muizenberg, they're in Para North. What do I do? I can't be in two places at the same time. So I'm going to go to a break. We're going to take a quick break, and then you can maybe ask Lauren some of the things that you want to ask, if we can answer that. So here's already some comments coming through. This one says, so can we believe that CSE will only go into 1,500 schools? That is the initial number. And like you said, the rollout then after that would be for everyone. But then I think there's an opportunity to stop this thing. If you think about it, it's not rolled out everywhere.
I think we need to stop it
before
next year.
You see, the thing is, I think you posted on the group the other day about the school year coming to an end. Have you inquired of your school? Are they going to implement this? Because certainly those 1,500 schools should know who they are.
They should. The teachers should have gone to training, and we were told by a concerned parent that their school rejected it, and because there were enough parents that gave an outcry. But then at the other school that is implementing it, they did not have a meeting with the parents.
So that's what I'm asking about in terms of if there's enough of an outcry. So if at my school, son's school, both of the schools, high school and primary school, if there's enough of an outcry, you will get people that say, but it's good, I actually like that. But if the majority says, no, we don't want it, what is then the action of the school then? Are they allowed to say no?
The schools haven't really got that much power if you listen to what the Department of Basic Education is saying, because they're saying parents cannot opt out. Angie, in fact, said that you can opt out by putting your child in a private school.
Sure.
So I'm not sure how logistically they're going to force it, because teachers, if the principal is against it, if the SGB is against it, if the teachers are against it, then, they can just make a stand. But we cannot... That is a very weak way of approaching it. We cannot let it get to that level.
No, we can't.
We
can't. So we're going to quickly go to a break, and then we'll conclude with it. It's quite an interesting conversation. I wish I had more time with Lauren, and we need to get it in even before going back to school, so we can raise enough awareness before you take your child to school next year in 2020. This is an important issue, as what we allow will continue. So with that, I'm quickly going to go to a break, and then we'll just conclude with our topic. We didn't even touch or scratch the surface yet. This is just about also raising a little bit of an awareness, but there's so much more to this than just on the surface. So we'll get to maybe some of that after all of this.
Boss of the switchblade. You've heard of Nikki